What's good, gamers? Welcome back to each and every one of you. Today's video is brought to you by me and Twitch. If you want to join us, have some live conversations, talk about WoW lore, play video games, or just generally have fun, go to twitch.tv/Accolon or click any of the links in the description down below. Today's video, of course, is about Augmentation Evoker. The community has been having a bit of a meltdown, shall we say, over the last few days, ever since Blizzard introduced numerous nerfs to a bunch of classes, including classes that made up part of the God comp, quote unquote. And of course, as you can imagine, the community is balanced and fair and really excited to see what Blizzard... Now, it's been an absolute trash can dumpster fire, as the community has immediately come up with some of the hottest and also some of the most moronic takes I have ever seen. So I'm going to try and act as the voice of reason. Hopefully by the end of this video, you will understand why Evoker is such a major step in World of Warcraft's future, but also why we need to be a little bit more patient with Blizzard when it comes to, you know, the actual design of World of Warcraft. Right, so if you look at the chart on your screen right now, it should become painfully clear to you that Augmentation Evoker is broken. Yes, every single one of those names in green, that's an Augmentation Evoker. And you have to go pretty far down that list to find the first groups that aren't actually running Augmentation Evokers at all. That's scary in and of itself, but consider that this is a brand new class, and not only is it a brand new class, pretty much always when Blizzard introduces a new class, that class is fairly broken until Blizzard finds its perfect sweet spot. But this is a new role that Blizzard have just come up with. It's support. It's something that World of Warcraft has never done, so it's expected to be a little bit on the broken side. This, of course, is very much on the broken side, and due to the nature of how Mythic Plus operates and the season works, I can understand the outrage from players. When you look, for example, across all levels of Mythic Plus, and you look at all of the levels plus 20 and above, plus 25 and above, there is a fairly decent spread of all of the classes represented within the Mythic Plus. Some classes being a little bit more represented than others, of course. Paladin, here's looking at you. But for the most part, every class is represented there. I think the problem comes in, and the real problem for a lot of the hardcore community, is when you get to the very tippity top of the tables. You see, there it becomes very much about the exact comp you're running, and Augmentation Evoker here played a massive part. That's where the God comps came from, and that's where people could set up these plus 27, plus 28, plus 29 keys that now, after the nerfs, there are a lot of nerfs that just came through, including nerfs to the Augmentation Evoker, as well as the classes that sort of paired with the Augmentation Evoker to push those incredibly high keys. They've all been nerfed into the ground now. You see, and this is where the first issue really rears its head. The player base is angry because with all of these nerfs now, it means that anyone that set up an incredibly high Mythic Plus score before the nerfs will, in essence, be untouchable. There is simply no way for anyone else to get to that level to beat that score, because the classes that were used to get those scores have been nerfed, and none of the other classes have been buffed enough to really make up for those nerfs. Now, that's theoretically, because it is possible that a new God comp may emerge and people will find a new way to push even higher keys. But I understand the essence or the crux of the problem. You see, the fundamental thing with World of Warcraft is, depending on how you play and depending on which camp you fall in, you're always going to view the game through your own lens. If you're a high-level raider, for example, everything that Blizzard does is going to impact you only insofar as it impacts raiding, and you're always going to look at that in the worst possible way. What the high-level Mythic Plus players don't understand, and I understand they're angry, but what they don't understand is when you look at low-level keys, when you look at +1 all the way up to plus 15, every single group is asking for Augmentation Evoker. There are classes that has been completely excluded from the group play simply because every group wants an Augmentation Evoker. This is the majority of the player base. This is about 90% of the Mythic Plus player base. And for them, Augmentation Evoker isn't a fix-all button where they get to time their keys and get even higher keys. For them, it's an exclusionary device. Because they need to be augmentation, all of the people who played or rolled Evoker at the beginning of this expansion have been forced from Devastator, have been forced from the healing spec, can't remember, Preservation, and now have to play Augmentation because that's the new spec and everyone needs it. So Blizzard stepped in, much like you would expect them to do when the majority of the player base is being affected by something that they did, and they nerfed the classes that ruled, I don't know what the hell that was, but ruled the lists, so to speak, to fix it for the 90% of the player base that is affected by this problem. Now, that doesn't mean that you in the top 1% isn't affected by this change. And that's not really the point of this video. The point of this video is how the top 1% have been responding to this. Now, it is true that Blizzard's nerf of the God comp should probably have been accompanied by nerfs to the dungeons in order to make sure that classes now that isn't the God comp can still compete in this season. And that's true. Let's be real, it's been hit and miss with how the Mythic Plus seasons have played themselves out. But when you go onto Twitter and you see high-level Mythic Plus players and high-level raiders calling for Augmentation Evoker to be completely reworked and made into a pure DPS spec, that bothers me. It bothers me on a fundamental level, and the reason for it is this essentially sends the message to Blizzard Entertainment that we will not tolerate anything new from or for World of Warcraft. And then in about 2-3 years from now, we start complaining again because where's the new things? WoW is boring. Why doesn't Blizzard ever add new classes? Why doesn't Blizzard ever add new things for us to do in the game? And it's like, well, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Look, it's a new spec. It's a new class. It's a new role within World of Warcraft. There is bound to be hiccups. There are bound to be mistakes, and Blizzard hopefully learns from those mistakes. Hopefully we find a balance before the end of this expansion where Evoker or Augmentation Evoker slots in perfectly into the expansion. But to simply go out and call for the entire experiment to be scrapped, no more support because it doesn't work. How dare you, Blizzard? You couldn't balance it in 2 months. This is just dead. Make it into DPS. That to me is just incredibly short-sighted. And it bothers me that people in the 1% would look at the game that way and believe that everything Blizzard does should always be looked at through their lens. And I get it. We all want to feel like we're the most important player in the game. But we're not. There's about 90% of the player base, 99% of the player base that like Augmentation Evoker simply because it's fun, simply because it's how they want to play. There's people that prefer playing as support because in an RPG, it's all about those hero archetypes and being able to play your fantasy. And there's people that like playing as a support. They don't want to heal. They don't want to DPS. They don't want to tank. They just want to support everyone else in the group. And to ask that they just remove that, that's wild to me. Personally, I think one of the biggest reasons or one of the biggest mistakes Blizzard have made here is they didn't go far enough with the support of the Augmentation Evoker. It really should be a support, and there should be trade-offs between running with your Augmentation Evoker and not running with your Augmentation Evoker. The problem right now is there really is no trade-offs. You bring an Augmentation Evoker and it's just up, up, up. Right? It's just better for everyone that you have this Augmentation Evoker. And that's not really what a support is. Yes, a support brings extra things to the group, but it has to always come at the expense of something else. And I think that's something Blizzard still should work out. I think the other problem with Augmentation Evoker is that it is the only support right now in World of Warcraft, and it desperately requires more support specs surrounding it. So suddenly, there is no, oh, everyone just takes the Augmentation Evoker. There's more options. There's a Bard, and there's a Tinkerer, or maybe there's something else that I can't even think of right now. A Cleric, maybe, for example. And every single one of these offers support in a very different way and to a very different audience, which suddenly means Mythic Plus groups can't just go with all of the best supports, because every support is going to be very different depending on the dungeon that you run, depending on the group and the content that you have. Look, I'm not suggesting that it will ever be perfect. There's no such thing. But maybe it can be better than what it is now. But in order to get there, we have to give Blizzard the opportunity to get there. We can't just expect after 2 months the game isn't quite balanced to how we want it, and that means end of discussion, it should just be removed. What the hell is that? With that mentality, we'll never get anything new in World of Warcraft. And I want new things. I'm one of those casual 99% of the player base that likes new things. I want the game to be better. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. This is a bit more of a ranty video because I saw this and it just cringed me out. So I want to hear from you in the comment section. What do you think? Do you think that Augmentation Evoker is a good thing, a bad thing? How would you fix it? I'd love to read your comments. Then, of course, to all of the patrons, the YouTube members, and the Twitch subs, thank you so much for your monthly contributions. It does help out the channel a ton. Without you, this video wouldn't be possible. And for $1 a month, you made sure that I don't have to say no to scumbag sponsorship. So I really appreciate from the bottom of my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and smash that bell because it does help out the channel a ton. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I shall see all of you in the next one. Peace out, fam.